I have the worst luck with like high dollar items. I buy these high dollar items thinking that they're just going to solve all my problems, and so I buy these headphones. Just Bose, they're beautiful. It's got all the, it's supposed to be the simplest and easiest thing to do in the world, and the best quality. Of course, I cannot get these things to interlock. My Bose, these beautiful headphones, can't go from Zoom to this call to that. Whereas my, my regular, regular old headphones have no problem going from one thing to another.
It's all a hoax.
They sound great when I get them to work.
Right.
Oh my God.
That's undeniable.
Thank you for your patience. I'm so grateful.
Oh no, it was thoroughly enjoyable to see you stress out.
I'm like, what is? Oh my God. Yeah.
No, so I'm just teasing, but no problem at all. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Definitely a comedy of errors to have me be my own tech guy.
Right.
So I was watching some of your links. You're just amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I love your stuff. I love the diversity. I love the different topics that you are covering. Is there anything that you would like to talk about?
Well, me. No, I'm just kidding.
Do it. I thought that was beautiful. I actually just left one of your links. I think it was the one, the Emerson Non-Duality channel thing, and it was like seven months ago. But there was a lot of good stuff in there. One of the last things that was in there was, or at least the last thing that I listened to was, just be. It's there for you. It's just right there. It's for you, and nobody else will ever experience it, no matter what that means. And I find that's beautiful. I mean, that's a beautiful place, a placeless place to be.
Yeah, it's really the only place to be. That's home, like that's home right there, and you can be in all other places from within this place. That's the beauty of it, it's. Whereas the other stuff, you're kind of getting outside of yourself, and even the whole non-duality thing, where it's this I almost want to say poison. I mean, I know that sounds kind of strong, but it's almost this poison. Like, if you still have a me, you're still poison. But there is no me there anyway. You just don't know it. It's such a
the paradox of it. The paradox of it being that in my humble opinion, like, consciousness is the illusion of separation, but it is all there is. It's not the self in that it's an actual reality, a person going through time and space, but it is that character, and so and that's the only thing it can be. So it's what you want to play with, that character. That's what it, but that's what it is.
Yeah, and there's a beauty in that. I did a talk yesterday with Leonard. He was in the Nothing thing for a while. He did a few interviews there and through the Nothing group. Such a sweet, lovely, kind, gentle soul, and I talked a lot about the playground metaphor that I did with the Emerson thing, but anyway, my point being that when I said jokingly, like, I just want to talk about me, but there was this thing that coming to this realization that it's it's kind of like a knowing, and in the end, I feel like it's all a massive mystery, but whatever sort of knowing or experience that is happening with you, that's as real as anything else, right? And as unreal as anything else. So what has come to me through, and I trust this more than anything, and I tend to see it reflected back to me in certain speakers, in certain old text, or in just a simple poem or literature or movie, not movie so much, but anyway, and for me, it was I went from a psychotic experience, ending up in jail for 3 days, and shamanism, and psychedelics and DMT, which I don't even put in any realm of anything else, and an existential breakdown where, yeah, all I wanted was to be out of this, whatever this is. So anyway, coming to this point of, wow, I'm going to use the language that I used. You can take out words that don't resonate and put in other ones, or just leave it. But we are all God. We are all the absolute infinity appearing as whatever is there. And our vehicle, God's vehicle for having this experience of life is our character. Is, you know, if it's a video game, it's our avatar. If it's a movie, it's the role, the actor we're playing. It's not any different than that. We complicate things so much. And then in the story of life, in the myriad of stories, there's one line that seems to be the sort of joke, the punchline of the joke of it all. And some of us get that. And it's like, oh, I get this joke. Most people don't get it. And the joke is that we are God hiding from itself to have these experiences, not for the purpose of bettering humanity, not because it's good or bad, not for, it's just for the hide and go seek of itself, right? If you're everything, if you're infinite, if you're almighty, you're all powerful, if you're actually nothing, which means you're everything, what's the fun in that? And by saying,
wouldn't it be the same thing though? If whether, see, I'm equating to what you're saying as sourcelessness, and like,
yeah,
in that, you know, God hiding from itself would mean that everything is God, everything that appears is God. Okay, so the immediate experience as seen through the consciousness is, you know, everything and nothing relative to no point or position. It experiences itself as the two of us having a conversation. So it seems as if, you know, but what would God be the God of? That's that, you know, so it's kind of like using God like Maharshi would use. You know, I don't know. I've just been looking at his stuff lately. He uses God in the same way.
yeah,
You know,
source. I like the word source because it's not loaded. I also, so part of my journey, there's a little bug. Part of my journey was encountering in a very unusual way somebody, and me diving into their, everything was so synchronistic, Howard. This is the kind of stuff where you go, you don't question it. It's like, this is so meant to be. So anyway, he calls it TCE, short for true creative essence.
nice.
Because that is so unloaded. It sounds good, right? Creative essence, true creative essence. And I ended up doing his workshop. This was years ago, probably like, I don't know, more than 5 years ago. Anyway, and it was a 5-day thing, and it was epic. That shattered a lot of illusions and beliefs. And it was the workshop was called Ultimate Freedom, and holy moly, that was it. And then anyway, I could tell you his name and stuff after or whatever if you want to explore his stuff. But,
Sure.
But that was his thing was I would say there's like 3 things in, maybe 4 things in my life that have really led to this point, which is every point, you know, I don't have to tell, you know, the time, there is no time, but whatever, it appears in the story as a timeline. In my story of Giselle, this character in this movie, in this dream, that there were these 4 major things that to get to this point where it's like, there's nothing left. And I don't mean that like there's no me. I'm like, there is only this character that is God. And then I'm so indulging in being this character. And, you know, I used to criticize and judge, especially like doing these interviews. I go watching back, and now I watch it back. And I'm like, oh, why do I say the same thing over and over? And like that's all gone. If I see that and I sense like I get a little bit cringy about it, like I did with Leo's Leonard's interview yesterday. I'm like, I can't watch anymore because I'm so cringy about myself right now. But there's not like, oh, I wish I'd done it different. I wish he would take it off or edit it. It's just like, that's what, let it go, you know?
Let it go.
Yeah, with everything. But so it was the Robert Scheinfeld work, and I'll send you that if you want to.
Sure.
Well, before that, it was like shamanic stuff, and I had a psychotic experience on an airplane and landed me 3 days in jail in Virginia. And but
Wow.
that was crazy, like fucking crazy. But that was very, very as I did the processing of that afterwards, and that was with ayahuasca and all that. Anyway, it just revealed so much about reality, and how we play it. So, and then Scheinfeld came into my world, and then Jed McKenna, he's got those 3 books that was really like, oh my, he's saying what he's putting it into a very entertaining, intelligent, and raw way, what I kind of already understood but didn't have the language for it. So his books just made me go, oh, I knew I was right, you know. And then after that was Non-Duality. And I don't know if I'm on 4 or 5 or now, but and after that was DMT and the 5-MeO DMT. And then that was it. Like there's really nothing. And again, it's just the flow of life and the story, right? You know, you think you know something, you think you're done, and then voila, there comes the next thing. However, I can say this for sure, Howard. I can say this 150% sure. I know, and it's done. And that's it. And anything that comes from here on out is just a play in the fields of joy of life. You know? That's it. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. The funniest thing about reality has always been to me that it's like you would allude to a playground. It's a play. One thing happens after another, and it's just this weird kind of. Sometimes it seems in sync, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's awful, and you know, it's just really horrible. And then at other times, it's just, oh my God! It could be in the same moment, awful and beautiful. It's just amazing, you know, just awful and just beautiful in its awfulness. But the beauty of it is that there's nobody that could teach you that really, or it's not. I don't know. It's so paradoxical to talk about, isn't it? It's impossible.
Well, it's not. I mean, we're doing it. But I think what you just said is very crucial. I think it's like, and that's it cannot ever come outside from you. How but yet it appears to do that. That's the paradox. But once you get to a certain point, if that's even true, I don't even know, but that's what just came out of my mouth. But that there's no, you're just like, this is God, source, TC, whatever, chose to create this character that looks like this, that talks like this, that has the story. In this story or dream or illusion or movie of life, whatever it is, real, not real, all of that. Why would you ever want to be anything else? Why would you ever want to seek outside yourself or anything? And I do think it takes a certain amount, that's the paradox, it takes a certain amount of seeking outside yourself and questioning and wondering and doubting to come back to yourself. Well, and then recognize that it's all you. It doesn't matter.
Okay, but just for the sake of conversation, in my experience, I have to use.
That's all you got.
Yeah. Well. Well, but see, I have to use personal pronouns because in the context of, say, like you're saying,
why wouldn't you?
Well, what you're saying is immediate experience is expressing itself as two characters. Okay, right here, right now, and
But as
what appears to be
Howard,
this.
as
Yeah,
my experience, yeah, never
right,
anything else. Yeah,
right, and so within that context, we say me, he, she, we, he, whatever. But at the same point, at the same time, what we're saying is none of that exists. And so, for me, uh, for this appearance, uh, it does not seem like everything is coming from me. What it seems like is everything uh, appears to be in a happening, and that includes a me. Like I appear to
mhm,
be
mhm.
observing other things, but it doesn't. But I don't see it that way. I don't see that my consciousness is actually happening. I see my consciousness as just another thing that appears to be happening. And so, and though that's
Right,
impossible to say, it's impossible to articulate that, but
right.
it appears as if everything spontaneously happens sourcelessly. It's actually sourceless and spontaneous in that there is nothing outside of it. And so
Right.
it's
Yeah.
not doing anything, or it's not doing anything. It's just is what it is. And I appear to be in it, but I'm not controlled. And it's not like it's just spontaneously happening and not a happening, expressing itself like you were saying. A God, you could say it's a God that's expressing itself, but what is the God of? And see, that's the difference between
Why
me
does
seeing it and me just being a part of what appears to be happening.
so what makes you think that God has to be a God of something?
Well, just by definitions of words. So what do you mean by God?
Well, okay, so take that word out and put in source, like you said. You know, it's not complex.
Sourcelessness.
So,
It's not source, it's sourcelessness, because it's not a source for anything. It's not doing anything for anything. There's nothing outside of it. What would it be a source for?
okay, so again, see that word gets triggered and we get locked into this kind of thing.
Well,
So let's use
yeah.
the true creative essence.
Well, there is no essence in that respect. See, that's what I'm saying. That's the difference between what you're saying and what, like, how I experience things, how the appearance of me experiences things in
Okay, so
separation.
you say, yeah, so you say there is all that is there. It absolutely is. Whatever you think and
Yeah,
believe and experience, it's there.
yeah.
There's nothing to argue, and not that we're arguing, but there's nothing to argue or to deny or to
Right,
because it's all whatever you're experiencing is there,
right,
and whatever, it's all
yeah,
there, and it's also not there,
right.
but
Yeah.
yeah, to me, I have a little bit of a thorn with non-duality for many reasons. I don't really need to go into those, but I also I know that in the story of me and of life as me or whatever, that non-duality was a real eye-opener. I mean, it was like there, like I said yesterday in the interview, there's gems there for sure, but it's just another fucking thing in the thing of things. It's
Yes.
and it's not the and the thing. Everything is just like the playground, like the sandbox. Why do we think non-duality and is the be and all? And it, like, even though you feel like it's not really what you're experiencing, yet there's uh this force or power of the stuff you've listened to and the people you connect with that say it like this and whatever, and even the ancients like the Ramahan, that you feel like no, I can't get too much away from this because I know this has a certain truth, and it's like that. Why not just
Well,
go like poof? That's just as much Santa Claus as anything else is Santa Claus, you know? You can believe
true.
it and it's real, or you can just believe in something else, or not believe in anything, or I don't know, not
Well, non-duality in the form that you're kind of, I think it seems like you're uh, talking about, is that the difference being that, um, like, with what you're saying, you actually are conveying that there is a past in which those things existed. Whereas non-duality in the strictest sense, or in the unconditional sense, is saying that all of that is a story about a past in a time and a place, and that an individual is actually learning something from that. Whereas non-duality is simply stating that appears to be happening now in this,
Yeah.
what appears to be here and now. And though there's nobody actually thinking, this is just God, as you would call it, expressing itself as what is happening, no matter what is happening. But through the character of, in your case, you, in my case, me. And now you can't know that I exist beyond your immediate experience. So when you go off and do your own thing, later today, you go to the grocery store, you cook eggs for your sons and all of that kind of thing. You take the totality of experience with you. I would take it with me, but we can't know that we have two separate totalities of experience. So that's the difference. It's not that there is a choice. Okay, not with the unconditional non-duality, there is no choice. It's just nobody's thinking, nobody's doing anything. You're just expressed as the totality, as you would say, God expressing itself as what appears to be an individual named Giselle going through time and space. And so that's just, I'm sorry to, I didn't mean for this but that's, I think, the
I
difference.
really appreciate it. This is definitely triggering some thoughts. Absolutely. And I don't think we're saying anything different. I'm just saying that in the non-duality, what you're talking about, there's a complete sort of, in most cases, or whatever, generalizing here, of the denial of the me, of the character. And when you look at it and speak about it so brilliantly as you just did, yeah, it becomes really obvious. But what I'm just saying, why deny that? I mean, it's true and it's not, and it's true from that perspective and it's not true from a different perspective. Like, why not just indulge in the beauty of the character? Like when you go to sleep at night and you have no dreams and everything, where is all of this?
Well, the devil's advocate would be that okay, there is no deny, because there is no one to deny. So the thing being, like I was kind of saying, my experience is the character of Howard is independent of any control, and so it's just an expression of immediate experience. And Giselle the same way. There's no control going on anywhere, and so there's no identity of a Howard doing anything. There appears to be a Howard observing things in an immediate experience, but that is the illusion of a Howard. I don't have a foundation to say that is objectively real. Like, so we
don't have a foundation to say anything is real, really.
there is no real, right? So
yeah.
so the reality is that whether or not the appearance of Howard or the character of Howard decides to go into meditation or what have you, whatever happens, it's not me making a choice to do that. It simply is what appearing to happen. There is no Howard actually making that decision. So there's the rub. No matter what you decide to do in whatever playground it is still not you choosing to do that. It is just what appears to happen within that experience of your character.
So I agree and I disagree, because and I get that, and there is, for some people that's freaking scary, like, what, there's no choice, I'm just a puppet on a string. But for some people,
not even that.
Right,
because there's no string. There's nobody actually controlling it. So that's the hardest part, that there is for people to understand that there's not anybody actually controlling.
Do you know, what I just felt right now, I felt like I could totally go into what you're saying and go, wow, that's my reality. I get it. I hear it. I sense it. And I'm offering a different thing here, not drastically different, but definitely different.
Right.
And I could see, like, as I hear you, and my whatever is like, yeah. And that could be, and then but then I come back to myself or whatever, and what's happening here. I'm like, that's just as fucking real and happening as well. So the beauty of this is doesn't fucking matter.
No.
It's and the other part of it is that I what feels good to go with, what feels better, like or if there is a better whatever, and just play with that. Now you might say that you don't have a choice in that, and I say, well, we do, that's why it's happening. But either way, it's irrelevant. I mean, it's just kind of how it's happening. And what I've noticed in what I've come to know to be true is that whatever you're doing or thinking, it is what's true in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a flow and there's a shift in that all the time. So you never have to be stuck in anything.
Yeah.
And anything.
Yeah. There is no stuck, you know.
No,
and that's
because it's just flowing and appearing and discovering itself and being itself and whatever, playing with itself. And it can appear to be like Giselle is in control of this stuff. I mean, honestly, Howard, ever since like my whole shift happened, like let's just experiment with this for a while. Like my reality
why
looks
not?
a lot different and feels a lot better than it used to when I was in this box of non-duality. And it really does. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just saying like, oh wow, if this is also true or appearing to happen, then what does that mean about anything? It means that nothing is, whatever it becomes with itself, as yourself, with no self, whatever, however you want to talk about that, is there. It's what's happening. And it's malleable. It really is. It's like we can be a magician with potions and, spirit.
It's a story. It's a story. We're storytelling stories.
It's all a story. Even the story that you're saying, which seems like the end all be all, it's still a story.
No, it's absolutely a story. There's no foundation anywhere. That's
the beauty and the freedom of it.
Yeah, there's nowhere you can go in order to say, well, Howard is wrong or right, and I cannot say, I'm just literally just barking. I mean, nothing I say matters whatsoever. So it's
nobody anything no one says. But I just want to say two things about that. I'll start with the first thing that came up was there is no foundation anywhere. That's beautiful. But through the character, it's like a video game, right? Like there is where's the reality in that? But the avatar is there, and it's what happens, and I find this very pleasurable and enjoyable to live life in this way, is that the truth of that. There is no foundation anyway. So you're totally free of it. Yeah. And then as the story continues, as life shows up for you or through you, whatever, a foundation appears.
Yeah.
And you invest in it and you play with it, and it's wonderful, but it's not really there. There's no truth. But that gives you a freedom and a lightness to play in it, as opposed to like, this is what is reality and I believe this, and if you don't do, you know what I'm saying? It's like a child playing a game. It's very real, and so they stop playing that game and start playing another game. So those foundations become the stage for that moment in your life. Yeah. And when that stage doesn't feel good, or that story's over, or crumbles to pieces because somebody blows your mind, or you take DMT or whatever, then you go and free float for a while, and then in the next foundation, the next stage appears, and like, why hold back in playing with that? Yeah.
Well, it's strobing. It's I think it's the appearance of vibration in a note, let me say a music note, for example. There's a strobing in and out of sound, and without the the blank spot in between the noises, there would be no sound. You have to have the strobing in and out. And so I see immediate experience as music in that respect, I see everything in that respect. It goes in and out of subject, object, and the latter. Right.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have to.
Do it.
It's what my character is doing on this stage right now.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm so goddamn sorry. I'm sorry for being late.
I'm
Always.
so sorry. I'm sorry.
But anyway, I wanted to say something about that. Like, you can go so far and deep, and maybe it's just a mind fuck, maybe it's just a pleasurable like thing to ponder because it's available to us. But even that, there's so many things that we take on because of spirituality, is because we've done the work ourselves, we've suffered, we've sought out, we've, you know, and we hear these things and we take them on to be true, like the classic non-duality. There is no me. There is no me there. You just don't know it. All that. What? So is that like what you just said? That's what inspired me to interrupt you about the silence between the notes. Like, how do we? Is that something you just took on? Like, you know, like that many brilliant sages have said this forever and ever, but is that really true? Like, do we need silence to hear sound?
Well, yeah. Well,
That sounds like it doesn't make sense to me.
No. Well, within music, like vibration, for example, you know, and that's what sound is.
I know, I understand what you're saying, but if it's again a story.
Oh, okay. I see
Just
what
a
you're
story,
saying. Yes.
but it's the silence between the notes that make the notes audible.
Right.
Right.
And in the same
the notes are audible on their own. The silence is silence.
Well, the notes don't make the sound unless there's the silence between the frequency. See, that's how frequency and sound
you want me to prove you wrong right now? You want me to start yelling and prove that wrong?
I think we're talking about two different things, but okay.
Oh, I'll start singing. No, okay. I know what you're saying. I'm just, certain things come up that I always thought, yes, it's true, and then the little like naughty child that wants to like test everything out and go, is that really true? Whatever comes out, and that's something I ponder. Like, there is no silence is golden. I mean,
No. I think you're misunderstanding what I meant.
But you're saying in the music, you need the silence between the notes to hear the notes.
To hear anything. That's how sound works. It's just an analogy, but
I know. I'm digging into the analogy. So why, if you have a note, you have a note, and you hear it.
Right.
Where does silence have to do with that?
Nothing.
Right. Just like nothing has to do with everything.
Exactly. See, strobing in and out of silence and noise. Okay, that's my analogy to a subject object. It's like I come into, like you were saying, I come into my story and I get really wrapped up in it. I'm like, Howard is not happy. You know, all I got to do is, you know, get me out of bed, and I'm like, not happy. You know, it's
that sounds like a great children's book, by the way. Howard is not happy.
Howard is not happy. And so I can get wrapped up in that painful aspect. So yes, it's not hard to get me wrapped up into the meat suit that appears to be Howard, or whatever you want to say. But but even as that's going on, there is that aspect of me that knows that this is just this is an appearance of an actuality, of a character going through this. And so no matter how painful it is or how real it seems to be for the character, I can strobe into that and strobe out of that, those understandings. And that's kind of a dualistic way of looking at non-duality, but it's true in that sometimes it seems like
who cares?
Right. So I'm agreeing. That's what I'm trying to agree with you. And,
I won't let
you. Right. And it's beautiful too. But it does seem that way, that the character does seem to have more or less importance within the appearance of what is happening. When you're daydream, nothing, you know, the character doesn't matter. So
yeah. Well, so yeah, that's funny. Like, to recognize that, like, the the character doesn't have any importance. And that way, and being free of your own importance, but
Exactly.
it frees you of anybody else's importance. Like even those that you thought you'd never be free of, like your spouse or your parents or something, like it's all the same
And that,
happening. And by totally coming to peace with your, not even to peace, but just falling in love with yourself. And I don't mean in like self-love, so I mean like really truly waking up to the truth of who you are and going, oh my God, I fucking love this. It reflects to everybody else, because you are like, it's all the
and
same.
everything reflects back to you too. And then that's
Yeah.
what
And
enlightenment,
you're like,
you know, is alluded to. I mean,
yeah.
people say that it doesn't exist, but to me, that's fairly, I mean, it's like everything seems lighter and brighter and beautiful. And even
Uh-huh.
though it doesn't exist, it is magnificent in its lack of foundation. That's what makes it beautiful
And spontaneous and
and spontaneous.
exciting and all that.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. No,
that
and
is the beauty of it.
unpredictable. Yeah, yeah, unpredictable. I love it. Yeah. And the funny thing is like the freedom in the knowing the truth of who you are, and by knowing that, you know the truth of what everyone else, who everyone else is, and what everything else is. You no longer are dependent or expectations, and you can say, oh my God, I, like for example, I'll use my stepmom. You know, my story, she was like a huge factor in a traumatic childhood, you know, and it took me like my whole freaking 30s to get over all that stuff, and I had to be on another continent to do it, right? And so I look now at that story, I'm like, that's wonderful. And I look at my stepmom now, and I thought, I see she's no different than me. She is me, right? And that's the source. And I can say, I fucking love you just like I love myself,
Mhm.
but I don't like you, so I don't want to be around you. And that's not the case with my stepmom, but I'm just using that as an example. Like it, all of a sudden, the freedom to, it's just so there, and it flows, and it's like, I like this person even though they're a fucking loser and by society's terms or whatever, and I have no qualms about liking them anymore. And I don't like this person even if they're a family, and it's okay, you know. It just changes everything. Well, I think it brings the light to the truth of what this is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to, you know, I mean, obviously when it awakens to itself in whatever way it does, through whatever it almost be like my son plays a lot of video games, like and he designs his avatars, you know, and everything. And the better you get at the game, the more skills you have, and the more
Right.
it's, you know, more exciting missions you go on. And that's such a beautiful metaphor for life. But imagine if the avatar would wake up to itself and say, oh my God, I've been created like this and design, and I have all these skills and this history of like getting better at this game or whatever. But I know that I'm not in control. I mean, there's this whatever little 12-year-old guy running the show.
Right. Well, and that would be the difference between that. Well, I love the Matrix kind of
Yeah.
hypothesis, but the
Yeah.
still, you never can get to the end of that onion. I mean, because there has to be an
No.
original, either there's an original programmer or there's not, and see, there's no answer to that. So
And it
that big
doesn't
question is
matter either
right,
way. That's the other thing. Yeah. I
right.
mean,
So,
could be a good life endeavor to figure that shit out, but
well, it
I'd
very well
rather do
could
other
be.
things.
Well, when people point out the, you know, why this might be a matrix, I have no argument for it. I just, it still doesn't
Yeah.
answer any of the big questions, but it is intriguing, and yet another possibility of the lack of actuality ever being
Right.
foundation.
Yeah. Right.
But
I
yeah,
love
I
it.
mean, I love that stuff.
I think that there's nothing wrong with the questions by any means. And I think like a lot of us that have those questions that have gotten us to this level of freedom and enlightenment, you know, like such a dirty word in non-duality, but it
Right, right.
is, it's a thing. I mean,
It's so
it's a thing, like
paradoxical.
it
It's
is,
insane.
it is. But those questions at some point, I mean, at least for me, and they just fall away. They just
Yeah.
it's not necessary to question anything or to even understand anything. Um, I find those pockets of people and conversations where those people are questioning those kinds of things a little more interesting than those who are like talking about politics and questioning that stuff. But it doesn't mean that that's more closer to the truth or anything. It's just a personal preference, you know?
Right, right.
And what I
Yes.
prefer more and more these days is my alone time where I get to do nothing and choose what I put into my, okay, turn on the video game, turn on the movie. Sometimes it's just watching a movie that is just as cheese balls as possible. And
Oh
then
yeah.
sometimes it's like, I can't even do that. It's like,
Yeah.
I just gotta do nothing or smoke a cigarette on the deck or whatever. But trusting that, and just going, oh, the freedom and the savoring of every moment. And it's become very selective now. Of course, from your point of view, you can argue, are you really making these choices? I don't know, but it appears like I am, so I'll just go with that. Like, I choose to spend my time with you, Howard, because I love you. I think you're one of the most amazing person. And there's really like a handful of people that I feel like that about, and most of them I haven't met in real life,
Well, that's truly amazing, and I agree. And I mean, you're so amazing, and you're so beautiful, and you're such
Oh,
well, you're fearless, and
oh,
what I like about what you're doing is that I had the same thoughts and feelings. I mean, just like to 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 be caged into a particular way of being is not at all what I want. And
or what
I
you were
saw,
meant to
yeah.
do.
Well,
Yeah.
sometimes when I feel like telling a love story, or when I feel like telling, just telling something, just speaking on duplicity, I love all kinds of things about the world of separation. I love evolution and geology and all kinds of different topics. I love
Yeah.
astronomy and stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so
the quotes, all that.
yeah,
Alice
so
Crawley.
well, no, well, no, I mean like
Okay,
I
sorry.
mean the cosmos,
No, I know,
but
I know. That was my little specifics.
but I also love Black Sabbath as well, and I heard that they really love uh, Miss Allison. But
Alistair
anyway,
Crowley.
yeah. So what I'm getting at is that yes, when I feel like talking about dualistic things, sometimes I would get a lot of blowback, and the reality is that
Oh,
yeah, I mean exactly, you get blowback from these from the appearance of individuals, and
you
it's like
gotta
this
leave
big
those
night.
groups now.
Well,
No, I'm
well,
just kidding.
well, no matter where you go, or even when I'm like on my own page or whatever. But now, because of your videos and because of when I saw your links, I said, you know what, I'm not even going to try to explain this. When I
Yeah,
want to do it, I'm going to do it, and there's no
yeah,
reason for me to have to try because I'm with my friends. I mean, and then the people that don't understand it will leave because they're with somebody else. Who cares?
yeah,
The people that hang around will understand that we already know, all of us appearances in here know that this is just stories
yeah,
telling stories. So there's
yeah,
no actual necessity to constantly correct anybody. There's nobody there to do that. And we're just strobing in and out of this unspeakable, incredible, unimaginable, thoughtlessness. It's not even consciousness. And that in that it
yeah.
you there's no
It
valid,
doesn't
there's
matter what you
nothing
say
there.
about it. It's
Right.
it's
So
the
you could
feeling
just
of
tell
both.
whatever story you want. And as long as you're kind and nice, who
And
cares?
you don't even have to be that if you don't want to, really,
Right. You just can't hang around me too long. I mean, I just don't like people to be like critical of other folks all the time.
Yeah,
And that's one thing I ask is like, look, I'll let you say whatever you want, but you got to let other people say what they want to, you know.
right.
And so, people like in the group are talking about gods and things of that nature. And as long as you're open to have the conversation, great. And as long as you don't make it like my God is the right God and all
Right,
you people are
right,
going to
right.
hell, we're okay.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you could call immediate experience God all day long and not be incorrect. I mean, it's not. But it's and the beauty of that, being able to do that is that we are the totality of experience talking about itself as a God. And
Right. That's
you know,
funny. Yeah, that's cool. That's
it,
really cool. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so from that perspective, same with teachers. From that perspective, it's not a teacher teaching you, and it's not a you learning it. It's the totality of experience expressing itself as a teacher learner. I
Right.
mean,
And
it's amazing.
and to see it that way and experience it that way is from an awakened perspective, from an enlightened perspective, if you will.
Absolutely. Yes.
And 99.9%, I would guess, maybe even more of the population is not in that
They don't get it.
space. They're
Yeah, they're not
they're in that, which is God or hiding from itself to play the game, right? It would be like, I know I'm Santa Claus, and so now I have to play this game or I have to pretend, right? So it's like knowing it's Santa Claus, it becomes very joyful in certain points of its experience, and not knowing is also a thing. And it's so massive and it's so infinite that we can't even really we can only, what we talk about, I think, is very poignant and potent, but it's only like this much of the whole thing. But whatever, that's all we got to work with, so let's enjoy that and play with it. But no, like, really, we don't know anything, but at the same time it appears that we know things in certain ways. So there's nothing wrong with anything. There's nothing wrong. Well, there's a little bit wrong with some non-duality stuff.
Tell me.
But besides that, we're all good. Just kidding.
Oh God,
I'm
yes,
just
I know.
kidding. But no, non-duality was
Other than that bastard over there.
yeah. But seeing how like non-duality in a way is not any different than religion, right?
Right.
So, and it's just not.
Well, now,
Mm,
okay. Yes and no. As everything is yes and no. I understand what you mean,
truth.
but in the strictest sense, and maybe, you know what? Sure. I guess it could be. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Right. So imagine that you're not an awakened being, and is that even really a thing that's separate from a not awakened being? Which, okay, never mind, I don't want to get lost in that, but that's also a thing. And you think about religion, and you're born into this, and there's no doubt in your being at all, no matter what your life experiences, no matter what your people around you, no matter what, that this is truth. God created the world, you do good, you go to heaven, you go down. Like, how is that not?
Well, non-duality doesn't profess truth. That's the beauty of it. There's no, I mean, it's as far as I can tell. There is no truth.
That's a
there
truth.
There is no truth.
That's a truth professing right there.
Right, but that is the truth in its apparency. The fact that I seem to be saying there is no truth appears to be a truth is the totality of existence expressing itself as such. That is what is being expressed. But as far as it being an absolute, who knows? How can anybody?
No.
There's no.
But what I'm saying, for the character that is in the video game of religion, and it permeates every aspect of their life, that I think at the death, I can't even, I just think this, maybe it's true or not, or maybe it's true if you believe it and not if you don't. But death is like lights out, like you go to sleep in this deep sleepless dreamless, but maybe not. But the truth is that this body functioning like this and is gone. That's definitely done. And for others who are still in this dream, they live their life without you in it. So anyway, besides that, yeah, that truth of, like, you really believe that, and you live your life accordingly, and everything is reflecting back to you, like, there is a God, there's a heaven, and there's a hell, and there's a way to get into that and a way to get in that, and you have to do this Sunday thing every week and whatever. From that perspective, from that isness, everythingness, nothingness being that, that's just as true as the fact that it's absolutely not true. You know what I'm saying?
In that there could be a truth in that, like, for example,
Well, nothing is true, not even non-duality.
right. Well, yes, there's
So
no way to.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's my fault. It's my fault, really,
No,
truly.
I interrupted you first.
Well, there's uh, that's the thing about language and non-duality, particularly in that there's no position to defend or point to attack, and so language is best when you have these castles that kind of do battle. A lot of people actually seem like they are invested in the language that they present, in that
Yeah.
I am this castle that I must defend, and I'm going to attack this castle over here, and that basically anchors my existence to my beliefs, and this castle is real and that one's wrong. And so language really is solid in that respect. But with non-duality, there is no castle, there is nobody to defend or to attack anything, because really there's no way to know that. And so there's no way to know that you're thinking, let alone to have an objective truth about a thought. So there's so that entire language loses definition, like in as far as like even God saying, what does God mean? If there's not a God that is over something, then what is God the God of? See, if there's nothing other than this, okay, there's nothing for God to be the God of. So it's not a God. But
that's a faulty premise right there, thinking that being a God has to be that you have to be the God of something. What about
it's just by the traditional definition.
Okay.
Like Maharesh would agree with you. I think the way you're saying.
God.
Well, I just read this book recently. I'm a pro now at Maharesh. But no, he basically was saying the same thing, that it's God. But he was saying that in order to relate to the appearance of others, because he'd also say, well, there are no others, and there is nothing to be the God of. And immediate experience is everything, and consciousness is everything. But he would also say consciousness, as he would use God, in that neither have a foundation in a definition. You cannot say, oh, that's God, or that's consciousness, and that's not. You can't, because it's everything. And so the appearance of everything is simultaneously nothing, and therefore everything within it is not even a happening or a meaning or a reason or a purpose. None of that is relevant to that lack of experience. It's not even an individual that is aware of other things. So you can't even, there are no words at all to express what it is, because it's not a thing, because it's not relative to something else, and therefore everything within it is not actually happening. And so that's the paradox of speaking in any way about non-duality. And so and that's why
about life.
It sucks
About life. Don't fucking no, it's about life. That's life. It's not non-duality, it's life. It really is. And that's a layer of the fucking cake. It's a layer of the fucking infinite cake. Turtles upon turtles upon turtles. Yeah. Because yes, you know that, you feel it to be true in your essence or your non-essence or whatever. And then what? You still got to get up and take a shit and make some coffee and have, so.
Well, even if you believe that you are a thing, and that your thoughts come from a physical brain, and that your body exists on Earth, you cannot define a thing. You could see, you could explain or try to explain what appears to be happening, and that I'm picking up an object and stuff like that, but you cannot definitively describe a thing. A thing in physics has no definition, and so it is just what appears, even within the auspices of separation. It's undefinable. So you're right in that respect as well. Even if no matter what you think, there is no foundation. Even if you think, or if you don't think you think, there's no foundation for that assertion. to say that I have a brain,
absolutely. This is
or to
such
say
a
that I don't.
juicy, hearty sandbox to be in the playground. I absolutely dig it. I love it. And I just recognize it's just another sandbox.
Yeah.
It really
Oh yeah.
is.
Oh yeah.
And you can stay in that and relish in it and never step out of that if you enjoy it, if you want to, but you can just as easily step into like, oh my God. And now all of a sudden I am in I was gonna say black magic, but
Alistair Crawley, that's right.
yeah,
Alistair.
let's play with that. Or but then the thing that came up is like I want to go into exploring and race car driving and how he can be the best and then go watch all the Grand Prix and the Indy 500s and all that. Whatever. You know what? Are they talking about life like we are? Probably not. Does it mean that we're like closer to life than they are? No. Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like it's all available to us. So if anything starts to feel stuck or starts to feel like it's limiting your behaviors or how you speak because you think it should be this way, then just go, dude, I can change the sandbox just by being in it if I want to, just by being myself. Or I can see that it's super fixed and it's not fun for me anymore. So I'm going to jump into another one, and it might be another sandbox and non-duality with people playing in it a little differently. And that's fine
Absolutely.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's I like the group of people that I'm with now, or my friends, are uh, the most beautiful thing about them and our relationship. Uh, my core group of friends is that we all know that this is all just a story. It's just a game, and it's
Right.
just and
Right.
it doesn't it has nothing to do with what is traditionally understood as meaning and purpose and reason, and yet
Absolutely.
and people are horrified by it, and yet all of us, it seems, are happy. I mean, every one of us, we have our problems, and yes, and things go up and down, and I was
Absolutely.
right before I talked to you. Here's the truth that that appeared right before I talked to you. A friend of mine called me up, and she was, oh, she's suicidal, and and I just started talking to her,
I'll
and I
call
said,
you back. I got Giselle coming
I
up.
got Giselle. I was watching one of your links, and I said, I said, well, and I could not figure out what to say, so I just started being as honest as I could, as
Yeah.
honest as I could be, in
Yeah.
the moment about everything. And it was kind of, it was starting to work a little bit. And I said, look, do you, and as I'm doing it, I'm thinking, okay, whatever you do, don't say, hey, I've got to brush up on something really quick because I have this meeting with Giselle. And it's like, and the next thing I know, I'm saying it. And that was the funny thing. I said, look, do you want to listen to this with me? And she said, okay. So then I patched over, and we were both listening on the phone. It was the first time I'd ever done that. And that might have been what messed up the headphones, because I said, look, so we listened to it, and she was like, oh my God, this is brilliant. It's beautiful. That is, and she
Oh,
was
nice.
laughing, and yeah, it was great. And she was like, look, I got to go to the store, but do you want to talk later? And I absolutely would, because when she first called me, there was going to be no later. She was,
Right.
it
Right.
was
Right.
pretty
Right.
rough. So as far as the truth is concerned, this is a friend of mine that I love dearly, and I wouldn't say is enlightened, but at the same time, she's just a beautiful person that
Yeah.
that my friends, that we all love, and she's having a really tough time, and things happen, but what could be more real than that? I mean, what could be more amazing than having a friend
Right.
call you and trust you and say,
Yeah.
and and I told her, I said, I'm probably going to mention you, and she said, well, I would expect no less. But that's the thing, all these people that come and go and are varying degrees of close to me, um, are all pretty happy, and in that we give each other the space to express ourselves as we wish in the moment, and
Yeah.
not to try to confine the person to their last statement as if it was something that they were claiming to be a truth.
That's
It
beautiful.
Yeah, and
Right. Awesome.
that's where I wanted to be, you know, and I'm there, you know, I'm very grateful for that. And you know, I think that's what you're talking about, like getting to a place where this is not, I'm not trying to sell you a car. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's just the way I'm experiencing things. And, you know, so,
yeah.
but I strobe in and out of that stuff. And sometimes I just feel like being sappy and talking about
Sure.
forests and things and love. And, you
That's
know, I just, you know,
beautiful.
yeah,
Like that's like you need an excuse for that. Oh my
yeah, yeah,
God.
yeah,
And something that you said that I just wanted to add a little thing to it. I thought that was, you beautifully said what you said, and so poignant. But you said, like, you know, these core friends that you have, that they wouldn't hold you to the last statement you made or whatever,
yeah,
because, you know, but here's the beauty of it: when you're free and you're like, even if they did, it
yeah,
wouldn't fucking matter, and they couldn't, because your force and your light and your power would just
right.
disintegrate that right away. And if they no, I'm gonna they would disappear from your life, and it would be a relief. That's the beauty of it, you know.
Oh, the beauty of it too is that I full on make mistakes. I misread this earlier today. I misread a brilliant guy who I love talking to. I misread what he said about one of my posts, and I go on this diatribe. It's like 5,000 words long, and then I read it again. I read what he said again, and he basically agreeing with me, and I was such an idiot. But it's
No,
funny.
that's
But
love.
it's funny. No, it's funny. It was well written, and I was like, I'm not going to erase this, but I see what you're saying now, and
Yeah,
it's just funny. I mean, to be able to explore different stuff and to
absolutely.
make
And to play
mistakes and
like that, to
yeah,
play like it doesn't fucking matter. It really
yeah,
doesn't, you know. It's great. And again, the analogy of the playground with the sandbox is like when kids would play and they get bored of something or they do something wrong, they don't sit there and go, oh, should I go and redo that or whatever. I really am not having a good time here, but what would they think if I just step out of the sandbox and into something else I'd enjoy more? Maybe I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want them to think of me wrong. Yeah, just
right,
boom, done, next. And this is, to me, this is true freedom
yeah,
of being yourself in this life,
yeah,
whatever yourself is or isn't, doesn't matter. It's just, you just do that. And if you find yourself like when I watched my video, a brief part of it, I was, I says, you know, so if I say, you know, in the next 3 seconds, I'm going to turn this off. I'm like, oh, I said it like 3 times. Turn it off, you know? And then, no, I'm saying it now. It's funny. Now that I'm aware of it. But yeah, and I just was, okay, that's just that. It doesn't matter anymore. I'm not even going to think about it. It's fine. And it doesn't matter. And it's great. And maybe wonderful things will come out of it. Maybe terrible things, maybe nothing. Just not, just free in the moment. Next thing, this thing, whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's funny. It works like that, doesn't it? It's like feast or famine. You know, you're either too
Yeah.
busy or not
Yeah.
busy enough. And you know,
Yes.
it's like, oh my God, you know, I'm doing too much, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, nobody loves me anymore, you know. And but it's constantly like that, that kind of ebbing and flowing.
Yeah.
I actually, you know, as a kid, like I said, you know, I used to spend a lot of time by myself, and I would watch the ocean. I would surf. No, no, none of my friends surfed. It was
Yeah.
hilarious. They would give me hell about surfing and then stay home all day and smoke pot in their room and listen to music, which is fine and great and dandy. But
Yeah.
you know, why not go to the beach? Anyway, so I would just surf and watch the ocean, and I would see and I would see a story in the ocean and the ebbing and the flowing of the tides and the wind
Mm.
and everything. You know, eventually I became known by you know some of the better surfers, the locals and stuff, and the older guys would ask me, you know, how's it breaking today and stuff, and that stuff was beautiful to me. But I saw it as language, and that's one thing that I think it's like a time. I would say, you know, it's like a timepiece. It's like a clock. You know, the ocean itself is like a clock. The
Mm.
universe itself is like a clock. You know, everything
Mhm.
appears to be in that way, and so I think being able to see uh, what appears to be uh, time and space as the universe, and it seems like there's seasons, and there's night and day, and there's uh, this ever lasting cycle, right?
Mhm.
It just
Mhm.
I, to be able to see it as not a cycle, but uh, the appearance of all of that in the immediate experience,
Mhm.
just exploding, but not really from a place. It's not exploding. It's not even right, or emerging, or appearing. None of that is accurate. It just seems like that. It
Yeah.
seems this way, and it's not. And but to be when you realize that it's not actually um, as it appears, you can actually get into
Mhm.
the intricacies of the story, in that you can study different aspects of what appears to be the cycle, and not actually look for an answer. But when you're not looking for an answer, it appears to me that the story just becomes so much more beautiful, because it's just all of these arrays of different appearances, and
Yeah.
all these different little sub tributaries, and these little avenues. And the more I would watch the ocean, the more I could tell what was going to happen within the next few hours or the next day. I could tell when something was going to.
Mm.
Oh, this is and to be able to just see all that subtle nuance, um, is the illusion
Yeah.
of an individual aware of a cycle. But and then non-duality to me is that story spontaneously appearing, uh, and and yet that's what I am here now, that in the context of the two of us.
Totally. That's
It,
what I was
it's,
gonna say. Like the beauty of what
it's,
you just said is it can apply to an individual, right? It's like the
yeah,
nuances and the thing, and to an individual, to a character in your story, where normally stuff would really like piss you off, and like, oh, you're being such a dick. But it's like just seeing that, looking at it from that sort of on non-emotional, just appreciative way
yeah.
of what the
Just
cycle
reading
can
it,
do.
yeah,
Yeah, and also within yourself. I mean, it's such a way to be so um I don't know what the right word is, appreciative,
yeah.
joyful, in
Grateful, yeah,
all, in life, with everything. I have a 12-year-old, and every now and then he gets on these tangents that he has to talk to me about, and it drives me fucking nuts.
yeah.
But I when I find myself getting so irritated that I want to like crawl out of my skin, I just do kind of what, it's not, I wouldn't put it that way, but now that you said it, like watching the ocean, I just go back into that and just watch it from this perspective. And it's like, what a beautiful creature.
It is. It truly is. It's
Yeah.
fascinating because um, once you see it like that, it's kind of like a friend who I used to use that analogy to somebody that wants to borrow money or something. The best thing, depending on how much it is, of course, but if it's there's a cost venture, but let's say $20. Okay, somebody wants to borrow $20. What I would do is, I'll give them the $20 and try to imagine what's going to happen. Okay, and try to and give them the $20 and say, hey, thanks, no problem. Consider the money gone, as I do when I let somebody
Right.
borrow money.
Any money you
It's
lend, that's
yeah, it's gone. So, but and just to see what would but I would try to predetermine, what this person would do, and it's worth $20 just to see. It's really worth it, just to see if
correct.
intuition is correct.
Right.
You know, yeah. So yeah, in that respect,
That's
uh,
awesome.
yeah, it's you can look at it the same way with the ocean. Is your intuition correct? Like I would look at the different ways the thing would break around a rock or something, and it's just these subtle itty bitty little changes. And I would look at it and
Mhm.
I'd say, okay, tomorrow this is going to happen because that's coming from that direction. So this is going to come from here. And then the next day I would go just to see if that little subtle thing was right. And when it would be, I'd be all proud of myself. The same thing with people. If it's not only just money, but just look at people as like that kid was looking at the ocean. You can see different characters representing different aspects of friendship or whatever,
Yeah.
and trying to gauge what they're going to do is probably way harder than trying to gauge what the ocean will do.
Oh,
But,
that's funny. I was gonna say the opposite.
well,
Yes, yes.
people can surprise you. People can surprise you. It's
Yeah,
I just don't want to make people think like, oh, I've got you figured out. No, it's that I like to see how accurate I can get, and
yeah,
it's usually um, people can surprise you. It's great, but I have to be honest in
but
my
they
assessment.
rarely do.
Well, you have to be honest, and I have to be honest in my assessment, in that when I come in with this like energy of looking at
Surprise
somebody,
me.
yeah, then that changes their direction. Have you ever seen somebody change their direction on like the drop of a dime? Like,
Yeah,
they're gonna come in with this attitude or whatever, and then they feel your energy or whatever, and immediately
yeah,
switch, something like that.
yeah. Well, that's my like Achilles tendon is, as they say. It's like I wake up every day like that. Surprise me. Come on. And I'm always disappointed, like 98% of the time. I'm like, God damn it. I gotta stop waking up that way.
My girlfriend used to say that I trust my ex-girlfriend. She used to say, she goes, I trust a person, but don't trust the world. Whereas Howard trusts the world, but doesn't trust a person. And
Yeah,
I said, no, I trust a person to be who to be themselves. I don't trust
yeah,
them to do what I think they should do. That's the difference. I just don't have any false sense of
right,
like she would meet somebody and be like immediately their best friend, and
right.
like let's exchange house keys, and I'm like, and I was more like, yeah, I kind of know him. I met him like 20 years ago. I kind of know the guy.
Right.
But no, I mean, that's the way I see it. I trust the world to be their immediate experience to be what it is, and people essentially um, will show you who they are pretty
Yeah.
readily.
And they carry the past and past experiences to inform and influence all present experience. And that's another level of freedom where that just doesn't happen anymore, right? So and that way you do get surprised way more than I used to when I don't expect the past to, create the present.
Yeah.
So that's been really cool to see that.
Synchronicity.
Yeah, and just like, well, last time we did that with them, it looked like this and it sucked. Da, da, da. It's like, well, and then this time it was like, wow, that was magic. You know what I'm saying? And that on all different levels of relationships and experiences that comes up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
The chapters of the story, the
The,
chapters and pages.
the
Well,
series, part one, part two, part three. Anyway, Howard, yes,
that was beautiful.
absolutely.
I
Always
think
such a joy.
I think you're amazing, Giselle, and I'm so grateful. Thank you for your time.
Ditto. And my pleasure. And thank you.
I
Yeah.
can't wait for the next one if there is one.
There will be. We'll make it happen.
We'll make it happen.
We'll pull those puppet strings and bring Giselle and Howard together again.
Thank you, my dear friend.
Yeah, my pleasure. Are you going to post this somewhere?
Yeah, actually, my tech guy's been sick for like 2 weeks. It's
All right.
crazy, but yeah,
Yeah,
I
just
think
let
he's
me know so I can watch it and post it on my stuff.
absolutely. I'll link it to you. Sweet. Later, girl.
Love
you,
you
babe.
too.
See
All
you
right.
later.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.